We are going to show the Italian champion, Niccolo Mazzoleni. Now, we just saw Bujin's last round take a commanding victory in a match that generally doesn't go in Bujin's favor as often. This time around, though, he's up against easily the last deck that we expected to see here after the limitation of Artifact Moral Talk, which is the hand artifact trap tricks deck. He's only got the one Moral Talk, but joining the Moral Talk in his deck is 2 copies of Beagle Talk, the one that destroys your own face-down cards, a copy of Caduceus, which is it's the orange one that lets you draw cards when your artifacts are special summoned during your opponent's turn, and he's also running a copy of Fairnaught, the green bow, that will allow him to recycle his 1 copy of Moral Talk throughout the match. It's a very interesting choice.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody would be brave enough to try artifact cards other than Moral Talk, especially at the World Championship, but Shunsuke Hiyama has done so, and he's made it all the way to the semifinals.
It's working really well for him. He's found the formula.
Yeah.
He's definitely found the formula.
Though it is worth noting that he just barely snuck into the top 8. At 3 wins, he was the last place player after the Swiss rounds and managed to take down the first place player, Sean McCabe of the United States, in the first round. So perhaps he's found something this time around. And the main thing he's going to need to not find is all of his artifacts in his starting hand.
Yeah.
The 5 artifacts in this deck. That's on the high end of the number of artifacts that you normally see in this particular engine. In the States and in Europe, the highest number of artifacts you'll see is 5, with 3 copies of Moral Talk and 2 copies of Beagle Talk. Many players have slimmed it down to 4, with just 1 copy of Beagle Talk. Many don't play Beagle Talk at all.
Yeah.
And some run 2 copies of Artifact Moral Talk with 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. Sanctum is the card you want to see. Lets you special summon artifacts from your deck during your opponent's turn to activate their effects. Niccolo Mazzoleni, on the other hand, is playing a very streamlined version of the Bujin deck. There are a lot of 3s on his deck list, 3s and 1s. Not a whole lot of 2s other than Bujingi Hair and Bujin Harume. Spell cards, he's running the full complement of Kaiser Colosseum, so you can tell right now that he wants to keep just 1 monster on the field most of the time, unless he's going to win the game with it.
Especially because it's going to shut down more than 1 artifact coming out there. And if Shunsuke plays his Trap Tricks monsters, then he's going to be blocking up his own.
Correct. And he's running 3 Myrmileo and 2 Dionaya, which is, that's what Corey McDuffie had for the WCQ in North America as well. And he made great use of Lavalval Chain with those monsters to constantly put Dionayas up to the top of his deck, so you can have a string of free rank 4 Exceed summons that also take out a spell or trap with Myrmileo's effect. I don't think that a lot of that is going to get through against Niccolo. He's running a full complement of both Vanity's Emptiness and Fiendish Chain, along with Solemn Warning. He's only got 1 trap hole for the trap tricks to be immune to, and that's Bottomless.
Yeah.
And he's also got Torrential Tribute, which is frequently a problem for the hand deck, especially if you can engineer a situation where Torrential Tribute is chainlink 2 or higher. A lot of the early game for the Trap Tricks hand deck involves hiding behind the hands so that your opponent can't get to your life points and isn't willing to risk their own cards. But if you can get the hand off the field, it's a low monster count deck and you can take advantage. And it looks like we are now ready to begin.
Of course, he isn't playing any hands in these.
Oh, is he not playing the hands?
No, there's no hands in.
Just Trap Tricks and artifacts?
It is at. It is not hat, it is at.
Just at.
It's at. Or tar.
I always get, whenever I think about this deck, I actually think hands first before the artifacts or the Trap Tricks part. Because it's kind of the thing that nobody ever changes. But maybe that could be the change that was needed to make the deck competitive at this level.
Now, in Europeans, there was actually a lot of people that didn't play hands. They were trying some different engines. Bat was one of the best ones, or Fat, as people called it as well.
With Fire Fist?
Yeah.
Shunsuke Hiyama wins the first turn and sets 2 cards face down. He's got an Artifact Sanctum, which is going to help him out by summoning that Moral Talk straight from his deck to destroy something. Pawn of Duality comes down first for Niccolo, dealing Torrential Tribute, Bujin Yamato, and Fire Formation Tenki. That's a bit of a difficult choice, depending on the rest of his hand. He only has 1 defensive card in the form of Fiendish Chain, but he does have a Tenki, so he can pass on the second Tenki in Yamato now and take the Torrential, and then search out the Yamato later. He goes straight for the Yamato, though.
He doesn't seem to be too afraid.
Nope, he doesn't feel a need for that much more extra defense at the moment.
Now, you'd think at this point, all of the players would know what all of the other players are playing. They've been in such a small room together, and they've all been playing together. So,
we don't know their matchups from day one. They might have played earlier even.
Yeah. So it's odd that if Niccolo knew that he was playing against At, that he would take that.
I suppose if you are playing such a unique deck, there's nobody else in the tournament playing this, that word would kind of get around after a round or so that there's this guy who's running a bunch of the artifacts. Yamato hits the field and declares an attack. Artifact Sanctum is flipped. And he goes ahead and gets the Moral Talk.
Moral Talk hits the field early.
This is when you'd want the Mikazuchi.
Yeah.
Yamato is destroyed. No Mikazuchi, even if he did have it because of Pot of Duality. And in main phase 2, Mazzoleni contemplates what he wants to set face down, and probably if he wants to play the Tenki now rather than later. Not playing the Tenki now allows him to protect information, but it does run the risk of letting you draw the card you would have searched out anyways. And depending on how many different search cards you have in your deck, that could be fatal and leave you with a card you can't play down the line.
Yeah.
Happens a lot when you see the one reinforcement of the army in a deck with 1 or 2 warrior-type monsters. You'll get a situation where you draw both and then the reinforcement later. Artifact Moral Attack strikes directly for the first damage of the duel. And we'll probably be seeing another extra use out of it later on due to that call of the Haunted.
Yeah.
Hayama's picked up an artifact, though. It's Artifact Caduceus.
Which is one that isn't usually played.
Not usually, but it's the third one in if you're going to play 3 artifacts. But Hayama's playing 4. 2 more face-down cards join Moral Talk. One of them is likely the Caduceus.
Yep.
Because he has multiple copies of Vigaltak in his deck. Second Pot of Duality for Mazzoleni, who reveals Bujin Harume, Bujingi Crane, and the Torrential Tribute once again.
Now, is he going to go for the Torrential Tribute? Because now he definitely knows that there's artifacts there.
And he's got a second... Well, he's got access to a second copy of Yamato, so he may also pick the Crane for its double up. But then again, if he does that, Call of the Haunted is waiting to bring back Moral Talk.
There is also still a Bottomless Trap Hole that Shunsuke didn't activate when the first one was...
He didn't need to, because he had the Sanctum there.
Yeah.
And if you're Mazzoleni, you might think in that case, oh, he used the Sanctum early. He doesn't have the Bottomless Trap Hole.
He also still has another Sanctum as well.
Jingi Crane is the choice, added to Mazzoleni's hand. And we're getting a quick check on what exactly Jingi Crane does. So let's go ahead and bring it up for our viewers as well. So Bujingi Crane is one of the rare cards that can activate during damage calculation. Works on either player's turn, and it only works in one of your Beast Warrior type Bujin's battles. That's the actual Bujin monsters in the 4 main deck ones: Yamato, Mikazuchi, Arasuda, and Harume. So it works for all of them, but it also works for the Xyz monsters, Susanoo, Kagasuchi. We don't see Tsukiyomi very much in Bujin decks, though it appears a lot in other decks. There are some interesting plays you can do with Noble Knights. If you summon Bujinte Tsukiyomi, you can send Guinevere to the graveyard, draw some extra cards. There's a lot of applications for it. It's just none of them seem to be in the Bujin deck.
No.
And there's Amaterasu, who is the 3 material
yes
Bujin. which you
Very
don't see a
powerful
whole
card.
lot of, but she's really strong, able to act as a Leviar or a Monster Reborn as you need. Very useful card. But any of those, especially the Xyz monsters, doubled up during damage calculation, is going to come up with a number over 4,000, close to 5,000 at times. Back in our match, everything appears to be sorted out.
Tenki has been activated.
Tenki's activated, and he can't special summon this turn, so the Arasuda isn't really a play here. And now Mazzoleni takes a look and picks out another Yamato. Now he doesn't know about that bottomless trap hole. Likely thinks it isn't there because it wasn't used the first time around. This time it is, though. And whether or not Shunsuke realizes it right now, there's now one Bujin banished and one in the graveyard. Mazzoleni's problem is that they're both Bujin Yamato and they cannot coexist on the field.
Yeah. Although he does have a Mikasuchi in hand and an Arasuda.
Pair of Fiendish Chains, is that?
Yes, he has 2 Fiendish Chains.
And even though things aren't looking too good to start for Mazzoleni, he still has plenty of gas left. He's probably going to wrap it up for his turn. He has no further plays. And in the end phase, a second Artifact Sanctum is activated.
Now it looks like he's going for Cadeus.
Looks like he's got Galtok in hand to destroy his set Caduceus. The only other option would be Fail Not, but there are no artifacts in the graveyard to bring back, so no real reason to get it right now. Galtok is activated. Mazzoleni allows it.
So what's this, the effect of this card?
And Caduceus activates in the graveyard. It is not a very commonly seen card, and Mazzoleni understandably wants to know what exactly its powers are. Much like all of the other artifacts, you can set it as a spell or trap, and it can be summoned if it's destroyed while in the graveyard. And during your opponent's turn, whenever a artifact monster is special summoned, draw 1 card. Now, like Hyper Librarian, you don't get to draw off this card itself. It has to be there for the entire time. But that is a lot of attack points on his side of the field. Even though the Galtak is the small Fury, unlike the big Fury, Moral Talk.
Now, he seems to have no fear from the 2 face-down cards that are there. I mean, if Niccolo really wanted to, his next move would be to try and stop as much damage coming in as he can, otherwise he's going to lose. I believe there's enough on the field to take him down to 0.
From 59 with 41, 16, and I think 14? 3,051. I think he would survive just a bit.
Just. But with all those level 5, I believe they all are?
Yep.
There
is a large number
Shunsuke can easily make a rank 5
of rank 5 monsters. But luckily for Mazzoleni, Gaga Cowboy is not rank 5.
No. Although he's looking into it now.
All of the rank 5 monsters are powerful. And what Mazzoleni has to watch out for is that he really does need to get rid of all of those artifacts so that Volcasaurus can't be played to deal that last bit of damage.
Now, it looks like he's thinking about the artifact Xyz monster.
Durandal.
Which is a fantastic card. That's going to stop all of the spell and trap cards, so that's going to stop him. Because it changes their effect to destroy a spell or trap card.
I think it's is it destroy a spell and trap card or destroy a spell trap card your opponent controls?
I'm not quite sure on that one. If he plays it, I will be able to bring that up for you.
In that case, Hiyama would have to sacrifice his own cards to activate that ability.
Yeah.
He does have Call of the Haunted, which could be used as well.
That's in his hand. Call of the Haunted and Double Cyclone.
I don't know that I would mind sacrificing Double Cyclone.
Or Call of the Haunted. To be able to have that last bit of attack on the field.
Last bit to stop everything.
So I do believe Durandal is actually quite a large monster as well.
It is 2,500.
Yeah, and ooh, he's thinking about it.
The question is, which materials do you use? And if you're going for the artifact monster, it's probably going to be... Well, Moraltok needs to be one of them so he can detach it for his Call of the Haunted.
Now, which card is he going for? I can't quite tell what that card is that he's looking at there.
He's looking at Consular Pleiades.
Which is a good play.
Absolutely brutal card. But he's left the Moraltok on the field. He will detach one material to try to send a Fiendish Chain back to the hand. But the chain is chained, and Consular Pleiades is locked down. Now he could also upgrade it to Consular Ptolemy M7 at this point to free it from the Fiendish Chain. And it makes me wonder why the chain was used here when he could just take it back to his hand and then set it again with another chain still live.
That is true.
He upgrades instead to Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger.
Wow.
Useful card when your opponent's on low life points, as its piercing damage effect can prevent defense from working out.
Now there is a second Fiendish Chained on the field as well.
There is. We could see a case where Double Cyclone is chained to it.
Yeah.
Mazzoleni is fortunate, though, that Pleiades isn't going to be sticking around. Special summons are active once again, but Mazzoleni doesn't have any Yamatos available. He does have the Mikazuchi and Arasuda, but without Harume, there's no way to banish a Bujin from the graveyard and start off the combos. Quick check to the graveyard reveals a bunch of traps and Caduceus. Bottomless Trap Hole and 2 Sanctums. That's not a lot of information to go on.
He's kind of sitting behind the Fiendish Chain. I'm wondering whether he's thinking about his Crane and thinking, I could attack.
Mikazuchi is summoned.
And I do believe he's got 2,000 attack as well.
2,000 due to Tenki, yes.
Yes.
Crane will only double it to 38, though. It does not get the boost back until it ends.
It looks like he's going to wait to attack first.
This is smart. If you go ahead and use your own pump on your own turn, you lose the ability to interact with your opponent during their turn. Mizushi at 2,000 attack, still not enough to hold up against Moraltok. And with the threat of Call of the Haunted on the field for a second rank 5 monster, it could just be that he's going to call back the Caduceus, because he summoned Volcasaurus, and then use Double Cyclone to get past the Fiendish Chain.
And that would be game.
That would do it, and Mazzoleni would really be regretting flipping the Fiendish Chain on Pleiades. That's one of those ones that you think about. If the Pleiades goes through, has 1 material left on Mazzoleni's turn, and you reset that card,
Yeah.
now I guess with the Double Cyclone it really wouldn't have mattered anyways. That's something to think about. This is the kind of thing that high-level players stay up at night thinking about.
Just before the event, yeah.
Just before the, just after the event too.
Even, yeah.
Those are the kind of things that you really wonder about, especially when you're this far into the event, and you wonder if maybe you could have done something different.
Months and months of playtesting's come up to this, and just to find something that you didn't think about.
Live in the moment, though.
hard feeling.
Live for this moment, not the next one, not the previous one.
No.
That's the way to go.
Definitely.
And that's what Mazzolini's going to need to do if he's to carry on in this duel and the next.
Now,
Rank 5 toolbox is pretty extensive. Also useful here. Well, another Pleiades if he's got it. Tiras, not as good against the Bujin deck, but we see quite a lot of it. Oh, and play has resumed. We've got double Cyclone on the face down. It's Fiendish Chain. Call of the Haunted brings back Caduceus.
and I think that's it.
He should be Ixie summoning.
Ragnar Zero. No, I can't do Ragnar Zero. It's rank
Not
5.
with 5. He's got the second Pleiades is what he's looking at. Not going for the direct damage from
Interesting.
Volcasaurus.
Yeah,
Maybe he just didn't want to show that he had it.
that's true.
It's a lot. You might know what your opponent's main deck is, but their extra deck is often a mystery. How many copies of Pleiades do you run? Are you running Volcasaurus? Is Tiras in there? Is Adrius in there?
Yeah.
Probably not Adrius. Volcasaurus does a lot of that himself. But regardless, Shunsuke Hiyama takes a very dominating win in the first game.
Straight away. I expected Bujin to fare a bit better.
Well, I think Mazzolini's problem is that he had to go second against a pair of Artifact Sanctums.
Yeah. That is a
Losing
problem.
both Yamatos back-to-back to Sanctum and Bottomless Trap Hole really put him so far behind that even Bujin Carnation couldn't save him because he had double Yamato.
That's an interesting side out. It's just sided out of Mamelio by the look of it.
Just one copy or multiple?
Yeah, just the one.
That makes sense to me because he knows that the Bujin player is going to go first.
Yeah.
And Myrmilio is at her best when you get the first turn. So a common, no, I don't know that it's a common side, but when I run 3 Myrmilios and 2 Dianaias, one of my common side deck maneuvers is to take out one copy of each Traptrix monster when I think I'm going to go second. That way I can get more cards in that can answer my opponent's threats as they put them out on the first turn, and fewer that have to be preemptive. Counting out the side decks once again, we've got 15, and you can see a copy of Star Drawing there.
Yeah.
On top of Shunsuke's deck. That would also be a card that you can easily side out to put something else in there, but it's really a fun card, being able to see summon as either a level 4 or level 5, and drawing a card while you're at it. Very underrated card from Cosmo Blazer, which had a lot of star-related things.
It did.
The fire formations themselves are constellation-based, based on the Big Dipper. So you have 7 regular ones and the ultimate fire formation that needs 7 fire formations to play.
Yeah.
So that you can flood the field with monsters and presumably the fire formations you haven't played yet. A lot of dedication required to pull that off, but it's another thing that I recommend trying if you've never done it. It's extremely satisfying.
But if you make some really good moves, that's a complicated.
Speaking of Fire Fists, that's actually not present in Mazzolini's deck. We saw it in the first round with Kim Chan-ho. He was running Brotherhood of the Fire Fist Bear.
Yeah.
Since he's already got the tankies. But Niccolo Mazzolini, not so much.
No, it looked. Did the last Virgin player we had, was he running Arasuda?
I believe he was running 1 copy
I don't
of
remember
Arasuda.
seeing that then.
I don't remember offhand and don't have the list on hand either. I really like the Bear, though. If you even think for even a second that you might run into a Geargia player anywhere, you gotta have a Bear in your deck.
Honestly, any deck of Bear is good against.
Anything that sets.
Yeah.
Is Geargia especially, though, because that's part of what kept Geargia down for so long, was that the Fire Fist deck was so good. Between all the soul charges to get back the Bear, and all the wolf barks for more XC summons, to get more tankies, to get more bears.
Yeah.
It was very hard to play a defensive game against the Fire Fist deck because it just kept coming at you with everything it had, and then the soul charge, it had it all again. Extra normal summons with Tensu, extra searches with Tanky. Some people even using Dragon to get the trap cards out of their deck for extra attack points.
Wow.
And extra copies of Forbidden Lance on top of the ones you were already playing. Looks like our players are just about ready to go. Quick check to make sure all our extra deck cards are in the right place.
I can't see much that Niccolo would be siding against this.
Yeah, I don't really... I mean, you can play your removal cards, your Mystical Space Typhoons, etc., during your opponent's turn to stop the artifacts from doing their thing.
Yeah.
You have...
Needle Sealing.
Needle Sealing.
Which is nice against artifacts, especially when, well, we saw there that he had 4 artifacts on the
once
field.
all the artifacts come out at once, a Needle Sealing can stop them before they exceed summoning. They're really powerful rank 5 monsters.
Yeah.
But most of what Niccolo has in his side deck is a lot of removal. Needle Sealing for monsters, Dimensional Prison for monsters, Dust Tornado, Mystical Space Typhoon for spells and traps. He's got a bunch of Maxis.
And Maxi may be a good option.
Could be a good option. The problem with the artifacts themselves and using Maxi against them and using Maxi against the 1-card rank 4 Xyz summon tricks like Dionaya is that they can just stop. The best thing about the Trap Tricks engine is that those 2 cards have 2 effects each. One when they're normal summoned, one when they're special summoned. So even if you max C when they're using Dionaya to bring back Myrmidon, you're getting a card back in your hand, and you might stop them from Xyz summoning further, but you're still losing a trap. There's just... It's kind of a no-win situation in that case. You'd really just rather have Effect Failure. And in fact, Niccolo does.
3 copies
He's running 3 of them. They're in his main deck.
Ready.
They're staying.
He's going to veil those effects. I'm not quite sure what that actually means, I'll be honest with you.
Just kind of put a cloth over the card text.
Yeah.
No one can read it, so it's
it's a normal monster.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Pretty sure that's how it works.
I'm guessing if you got like a yellow filter over the top of it, then it would be a normal monster.
We've begun.
Pot of Duality.
Niccolo Mazzoleni up first again with Bujin Carnation MST, which has been sided in. And looks like Arasuda off of the Pot of Duality.
He also has an MST in hand as well. Mystical Space Typhoon.
Takes Bujin Carnation. He's got Quillin, Mikizuchi, Hirume, all in his hand. That's a good start. It's going to be easy for him to get a Bujin banished from the graveyard.
Now, Shunsuke has a okay hand.
Debunk, Mind Control, Caduceus, Beagle Talk, Torrential Tribute. I don't know that I'd classify that as okay. You've got 2 artifacts in it, no way to get them out of your spell and trap card zones. You only have 1 Beagle Talk left in your deck.
Yeah.
But if you drew the Sanctum next, suddenly this hand could become extremely explosive.
And because he's going second, that's a very big possibility.
It's just that none of his cards are actually playable on his first turn. He can set the Debunk and Torrential Tribute, but there's no action at all. Luckily for him, Niccolo does not have the Yamato. He's safe for the moment.
He could always Mind Control and then tribute it.
He cannot tribute it.
Oh yeah, no, Mind Control says you can't tribute.
He could Mind Control if he had a level 4 and Xyz summon. Yeah. That would work. But he draws in a card D, which, while he's going to eat some damage next turn, is extraordinarily helpful in getting him closer to his Sanctums.
And he drew a Card Trooper and a Bottomless Trap Hole.
Not bad. And at the end of the turn, we see the Mystical Space Typhoon being used and knocking out Debunk.
And not hitting the artifact.
Torrential Tribute's still there, though.
And it depends whether Niccolo's going to be greedy or not.
I think in this case you got to attack first. Try to probe the waters, see what's there.
No.
He goes with the Quillin instead. And I can see why you would do this. If there is a Torrential, he can then banish a monster for the Hirume that's in hand.
There's the Torrential.
I kind of like attacking first, but there is a lot of value in this play. With the Bujin Carnation live, he can afford to be a little bit more reckless. Well, I say live, his opponent doesn't have any monsters yet. And now he's deciding, how much more do I want to risk on this turn?
Card Trooper is actually one of the ways that Shunsuke's been winning.
Really?
Yeah, he's just been playing multiple copies of Card Trooper and then attacking.
It is, in fact, I mean, it's one of the best monsters ever printed. I don't think it can ever come to a full 3 per deck. But every deck the Card Trooper has ever been in has been good.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's just because Card Trooper is such a house.
And one of the new Xyz monsters pretty much has the same effect.
Yes, that's actually what it's modeled after. Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. He's modeled after, he's a little bit Goblin Attack Force, or rather a little bit Spear Dragon since he can switch back, and a little bit Card Trooper. And that plays in very well with the Burning Abyss theme and needing to send those cards to the graveyard. Especially when Card Trooper isn't going to play nice with them.
I really like that card, Dante, because it's got a large defense that it switches to after it's attacked.
A lot of people are thinking about picking up and playing it in their own deck, even if it's not Burning Abyss.
Yeah.
And Mazzoleni is going for it with Bujin Harume, banishing the Mikazuchi. Direct attack is successful.
Now, something I mentioned at Europeans, and Matt said he knew nothing about, was the fact that all of the Bujin monsters look like the characters from the GX anime.
Do they?
Yes.
That I never noticed.
Yamato has Jaden's hair. Mikazuchi looks like, he looks like Chaz. And yeah, so all of the Bujin cards look like
GX. See, I was looking more into the mythology angle of it. I didn't really know about the whole GX thing.
Yeah.
I guess there's a GX fan over there drawing the art for these.
They all look like the main characters.
Speaking of the main Bujins, one of the most popular game mats that we released in the last year was that Bujin game mat.
Yes, I saw that at the UK Nationals.
The colors are so beautiful on that mat, and a lot of people just adore it.
I remember a lot of people criticized it when they saw it online, but as soon as they saw it in person, they were like, this mat is amazing.
I don't think that's the case for a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, like Ghost Rares in general. Some of the play mats, just a photo of them doesn't do it justice.
No. Especially things like shatter foils and things like that.
Yeah.
Nobody really gets it until you see it in your hand.
Shunsuke is up, and he sets a monster and attempts to take it back, which is not allowed. 2 cards join it.
So he has set the Card Trooper.
And Card Trooper is always great as a wall. I mean, you still get a draw if it, even if it's destroyed all face down.
And I do believe the reason why he was picking it back up was just in case he wanted to play the Dark Hole that was in his hand.
He would have to give up another card from his hand, though, due to the Hirume effect.
Yes.
That's no face-up cards. So with Quillen, not useful at the moment. And Niccolo Mazzoleni is deep in thought, down a game, but in the lead in this one. Hirume attacks, Card Trooper goes to the graveyard, and Shunsuke gets another draw.
Which is a solemn warning.
It would be very handy if that Bujin Carnation ever comes to call.
What a duality.
For a second Bujin Carnation, a second Crane, and Arasuda. Doubles of the cards in his hand, and Arasuda. And he takes the double Bujin Carnation. Let's go ahead and bring up Bujin Carnation for the viewers right now.
Sure.
There it is. So one of the great things about Bujin Carnation is that it's not limited to once per turn, like so many cards are, like Soul Charge, etc. So he's got 2 Bujin Carnations, and he can play them both. And the fact that Hiyama just picked up Solemn Warning, that means he knows that he might just be paying 2,000 life points just to get Bujin Carnated again.
Yeah. And there's the Artifact Sanctum.
Finally picks up an Artifact Sanctum, and that could break the game wide open for him with those 2 artifacts set face down. Well, we know one thing he's going to do this turn. It's set Artifact Sanctum.
Yeah.
And he's thumbing through his hand, looking at that Dark Hole, as if he wants to play it now. It's a big decision, and he checks the life points first. Sets 2 cards face down and ends his turn.
That would be Solemn Warning and Artifact Sanctum that he's just added to a massive back row.
Niccolo's picked up Dimensional Prison, another card he sided in.
See, I definitely would not want to come up against 5 back row, especially when my opponent's playing Artifact.
Agreed. That's where you have to wonder if you're going to get blown out by Malevolent Catastrophe.
Oh, and there's the Sanctum.
Sanctum to block the attack. There's only 2 artifacts left in deck, and I think we all know which one's coming next.
I actually believe he took the attack.
He took the attack?
Yeah.
Oh, so he did. Effective Vigaltok. Takes out Vigaltok and Caduceus.
Set up the chain links.
They are special summoned.
And he gets to draw a card.
Caduceus was face up. It was Chain Link 2. And so he draws 1 card off Vigaltok.
Dionea into his hand.
Dionea without Myrmileo, not particularly useful. But at this point, it's another body.
Now remind me of the Artifact Exceeds Monsters effect again.
It has 2 effects.
Yes.
One lets it swap the effect of something to destroy a spell or trap.
Now, is that just spell or trap cards, or does it also affect monsters?
I believe it can be used against anything, but it only targets, or it only switches the destruction to spell and trap cards.
Okay.
And the other effect allows you to disrupt both hands, shuffle them back into the deck, and then draw the same number of cards.
Okay.
That's really useful when you're an artifact player, because if you've got a handful of artifacts you can't use, but you were able to go ahead and pull off your Vigaltok play there, you can shuffle in the extra artifacts that you can't use and maybe get some Sanctums back in return.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for Mazzoleni, he would be very unhappy to lose both of his Bujin Carnations.
Now,
second effect of Durendal.
Luckily, there is a Solemn Warning and a Bottomless Trap Hole on Shunsuke's side of the field now, so he can't stop both of them.
He can't stop both.
So it's looking very, very much in Shunsuke's favor at the moment.
I did forget about the Bottomless Trap Hole.
As much as you forgot about it, I only just noticed it.
It's a good card. Normally, you see Bottomless Trap Hole every game in this matchup because they're searching it out straight away with Myrmileo.
Yeah.
But in this match, Myrmileo has been completely absent, and we've still seen Bottomless Trap Hole immediately.
Although I do believe he was running 3 Myrmileo, but he took 1 out, so it's going to be... It will be not as often that you'd see it.
Something's a Dionea anyways. It's a body, and he does have the mind control.
And that's attacking almost for game, I do believe.
Mind control takes Harume, can't tribute it,
and he's got
with it.
Well, he's got the Dionea there, right there to Xyz.
A giant pile of rank 4 Xyz monsters in his extra deck. First, he's going to attack.
Interesting that he attacks before he Xyz summons there. He could have got some extra damage out.
He could.
That's just a barrage.
And with that, Mazzoleni's reduced to 3,200. And he's going to lose his Harume.
What's it going to turn into?
For Rhapsody and Berserk to go ahead and banish that Quillin, so he doesn't even need to... and the Harume. So there's no need to even bother with his Bottomless Trap Hole or Solemn Warning because Bujin Carnation's right out. And then we see Artifact Durendal finally hitting the field and being equipped with Rhapsody in Berserk, bringing it up to 3,700 attack points.
Ridiculous. Wow.
So Solemn Warning, Bottomless Trap Hole, Durendal. There is not a whole lot that Niccolo can do. So it's actually very particular. You can switch monster effects with Durendal, but it has to be a monster effect activated on the field.
Yes, rather than in the hand.
Rather than in the
So
hand.
he has the Crane, And he has a Mikazuchi in hand now. So he could just attack, but as soon as he summons it, it's going to be bottomless trap hold.
Yeah, it is going to be bottomless trap hold.
This
not
is
going to bother with the warning because of the 2 Bujin carnations.
But if he was to do that, if he was to bottomless trap hold, there'd be no Bujin in the graveyard for reincarnation.
That's why they're not even going to bother with the warning. In general, you just want to play as few of your cards as you possibly can in any given scenario. Durandal not seen very frequently. Most of the time, Pleiades is the monster summon.
It's so surprising because it's such a good card for artifacts.
It is.
It just wipes out your own back row, which is what you want to do in your opponent's turn, and it's going to stop them from playing anything. I mean, you have to be very, very smart on what you play. You've got 2 spell or trap cards or effect monsters that are going to turn into summon my opponent's artifact.
Wasn't special summon. Well, he couldn't draw an extra card, though. Wasn't special summon during the opponent's turn.
Yeah.
There is, however, an artifact card that lets you do that. One of the spells, I think.
Yeah.
Is a quick play that lets you see summon during your opponent's turn.
Wow.
It's also, speaking of spells, we haven't seen it at all in this match, but he's running the full complement of Artifact Ignition.
Yeah.
Which really helps.
It's not even coming to hand, although this looks like... Ooh, he's just deciding. How would card to hand?
Normal summoned. Bottomless trap hole as expected.
Oh, and Niccolo has realized he's lost.
Displeased.
He is angry. For such a happy guy, this is out of character.
It's really hard to expect your opponent to have that 1 limited card at the beginning of both games.
And that's it.
Without the aid of Myrmilio.
At this point, the only thing he can really do, well, he's going to set...
Yeah, he's going to set 3. His opponent knows 2 Bujin carnations. And he knows that the Dimensional Prison is going to be turned into Spell and Trap Disruption.
And the turn's going to start, and he's going to attack, and that's going to be it. Oh, there's the Artifact Ignition. Poke.
He attacks. Plays it out with Dimensional Prison. And he could try to save himself some damage, but 25 is still more than 1900.
And that's it.